With an oppressive heat that would be fitting of the Junction Boys, it's week 2 and we're here at Leominster High School with our ESPN Boston Thursday Picks football extravaganza. As always, I'm Scott Barboza, joined by Brennan Hall. Brennan, it's pretty hot out here.
Yeah, great Junction Boys reference. I think ESPN's going to like that one.
It was a real trendsetter back in the day.
No, we've done all sorts of shoots. We've done it in the rain. We've done it in random snowstorm.
Yep.
This has got to be up there with just oppressing random September 90-degree heat. Can't get any more oppressing than this right now.
And it's really fitting, a great one coming up this weekend. Leominster, St. John's of Shrewsbury, which, by the way, will be our game of the week, of course, brought to you by Sports Authority and Bay State Games. Sports Authority, all things sporting good, is proud to sponsor the Bay State Games, the state's largest amateur athletic festival. Now, with that being said, Brendan, let's get into the matchup here. Under Dave Palazzi now, Leominster 4-0 against St. John Shrewsbury. Let's start it off the top. What do the Pioneers have to do to win this game?
They got to play. They got to play disciplined. I think no penalties, and it's always been a big emphasis on offense because the way they run that no huddle, you get penalties, you're basically killing the vibe, you're killing the drive. So, they have to play penalty free. They have to play disciplined. They can't. I mean, they know what's coming. They get the multiple offense here, but Neil O'Connor is such an evasive quarterback. He's an escapable guy, and when I say escapable, I don't just mean he's elusive. I mean you can't arm tackle him. He's going to find ways to get loose on you and get some extra yardage. And then, of course, they really have to watch out for these safeties. Jarrell Otto and Neil O'Connor, probably the best safety tandem in the state. Jarrell Otto, UMass commit, and Neil O'Connor getting his share of football looks as well. And they play a really aggressive scheme on defense. They're not afraid to send a guy up into the box or send a guy to the gaps and just eliminate all that stuff. And I think Andrew Smiley's done a great job of this, the quarterback at St. John's, selling the read and selling the ball fakes and opening up the middle of the field for those yardage. I know St. John's hasn't really ran a lot in this preseason, but you got to figure the season that Andrew Smiley had last year on the ground and in the air, just a dual threat, he's going to be running some. So they really have to sell the read.
We'll take a look at the Leominster offense starting here with preseason All-State quarterback Neil O'Connor.
Neil, a very familiar opponent, obviously, a bit of a nemesis, if you will, in St. John's. Not a lot needs to be said, but, how's the mood been in practice this week?
Oh, it's definitely been a real excitement and serious, too. We're excited to get back out there, but we know we have to be focused because over the past couple of years we've had some really close games. Some of our better games have been with them, and we know they're going to be gunning for us. So we're excited to get back out there, but we're also prepared to.
You guys are 4-0 against them under Palazzi. What is it about them that brings out the best in you?
I don't know. I mean, we're a perfect matchup. We're always equally skilled, and so we always know that it's going to be a close game. So we have to. This is our second biggest rivalry, I would say, after Fitchburg, and we know just what's at stake, and I think that's what really makes us come out for it.
Talking to Palazzi about the quarterback role, it seems like this has been a position that's been a while in the making for you, going back to last year, kind of learning what Garrett was doing and taking some notes. How has the progression been throughout the preseason into now at quarterback for you?
It's definitely takes some time, but I mean, being with the wide receivers for the past 2 years, I was always with the quarterback, so I was always listening, knowing what they had to do. But it's taken a little bit this year. I'm not gonna lie. But Coach Palazzi's been working really hard with me, and I think we should be ready to go. So.
Now, as a safety, without, I mean, how much does that help you out, knowing what the quarterback is maybe his tendencies are, what he's looking for when you're making your reads at safety?
Yeah, I mean, playing quarterback definitely helps that because, I mean, the down and distance, like what the quarterback's thinking, like who he's looking at his first reads and his check down, so you're always looking at that, and playing quarterback definitely helps that. I mean.
This St. John's offense was made of their switch to this up-tempo, almost Oregon-looking offense about a year ago. And I mean, if you watch Oregon every week, they're adding new ripples to their offense seemingly on the go every week. When you prepare for a team like this that runs a style like that, how much do you prepare for just the element of unknown and just being prepared for anything?
Yeah, we've definitely our defensive coaches have had us prepared for almost anything because you never know what you're getting. I mean, we watch film on what they've done last year, but, I mean, they're a very well-coached team, so they'll be coming out with stuff that we haven't seen. So we're just trying to get as ready for as much as we can. So
when you look across the way as a defensive player, what sticks out about Andrew Smiley and Davon Jones, who looks like he's going to fill in the wide receiver spot?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Smiley's one of the best quarterbacks around, and a dual threat kid. He's smart. He knows when not to throw it, when to. And Jones is a real good playmaker. He's real good with the ball in his hands. He's just one of those guys that sticks out, and we're definitely going to be paying attention to him.
What kind of crowd are you guys expecting Friday? I know last year when we came here for Everett, it was close to 5,000. Should be even bigger this week, I guess.
We're hoping for bigger. I mean, St. John's big rival, not too far down the road, and all of Leominster is excited for this. I'm sure everyone at St. John's is too. I mean, it's 2 Super Bowls in a row the past 2 years, so I mean, hopefully we're expecting big numbers, and that should just make the game that much more interesting. But.
Thank you very much, Neil. Now, Brennan, we talked a little bit about it. The safety play in this game is going to be big on both sides. Davon Jones, the aforementioned Neil O'Connor, Jarrell Otto. Before we get into Jarrell here in just a moment, let's take a look at Davon Jones, one of the, I think, the more dominant defensive players in the state in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and he plays a free safety role for them. He often lines up 10, 15 yards off the field, but he can play up in the box. This is one of the best hitters, not just in Central Mass, all of the state. I mean, he is ferocious. You've seen him. You've seen his athletic exploits. Just an all-around athlete. I mean, I know on the basketball court, he's one of the best point guards in the state for the basketball team. This is a kid. I watched him in preseason. Made a couple really acrobatic plays against Brockton and fooled out one, I think, of the better defenses around. This is a kid who you put him anywhere in the field, he's going to be a matchup problem. They obviously like the running back situation there. They got a couple nice transfers coming in at running back position. Davon at wide receiver is going to be a problem, and especially where they line him up opposite the strength of the formation, put him out on an island there, and really stretch the defense, challenge their weak spots. And I think Davon can really exploit that.
To talk about how the Blue Devils are going to deal with those athletes in space, here's Jarrell Otto.
All right, Jarrell, I don't think a lot needs to be said about Friday. A very familiar opponent for you guys, one of your big nemesis. What has the environment been like in practice this week?
Oh, it's been hectic because everybody knows it's a big game right now. Since we beat them the last 4 times, we know that they're coming back for vengeance, and that everybody's been going 110% all practice all week.
Is there something, you mentioned the 4-0 under Palazzi against these guys? Is there something about them that just brings out the best in you guys?
Yeah, we know, like, even coming in as 8th graders, that they were going to be a good opponent, so we've been striving ever since to try to beat them every time we can. Plus, they're red like Fitchburg, so why not hit them hard?
That's a good point. It's a good point. Last year was kind of it was your first year of varsity, but you made a lot of strides. What is expected out of you this year, and how have you felt progressing the preseason?
Nothing less is expected out of me. I'm just coming here to play. We're all working hard, every single one of us, so we're all expected to do our hardest, do good in school in order to even be on the field and just make plays.
You're going to UMass as a safety primarily, but they play you in a bunch of different spots. I saw in the preseason they had you at defensive end for a couple of plays there against their heavy packages, and then on offense, obviously, tight end, split end, slot receiver, even some running back a little bit. Tell me about your role with this team this year and how much fun you have in playing all these different little spots.
Oh, I love it because it just means that I get to try something new every time because we just on defense, try to adjust to the scheme that they're running on offense. So I work out with the linemen, I work out with the D-backs and linebackers, so it's fun every time.
Tell me about your defensive scheme. Obviously, you guys get a lot of green light, you and Neil back there, to kind of just be aggressive and fly upfield. Just tell me about your scheme there.
Well, we've been back there since last year. Neil's been there since he was a sophomore, so we have chemistry so that we know that if I'm not making the play, that Neil's going to make the play. And if Neil's not making the play, anybody else on our team is going to make the play. So we feel good having one person go and one person stay back to rob the pass.
And you look at their offense from a defensive standpoint, and they've got a new running back who looks like he's fitting in nicely. But Andrew Smiley and Davon Jones are the immediate things that obviously stick out. What sticks out most to you about them, and how do you neutralize those threats?
Well, Drew Smiley, I've been playing him since I was a freshman, and since then I knew that he had an arm. So we've been trying to work on his passing schemes because he can throw the ball far and accurate. And then Davon Jones, we know that he can come up and make plays on defense, especially, and then he's fast and shifty on offense, so he's going to be hard to stop. But I think they can do it.
How much of an element is the unknown here? You've seen other read option teams. They make a lot of adjustments. They install new things almost like weekly. If you watch some of the college teams, and how much do you expect just something you've never seen before?
Well, we expect a lot of new stuff, but we've been watching film on them since last year. So we've been watching film on them all summer, working on what they want to run, and that we just adjust on the fly. during the practice during the week.
Last year, you had a huge crowd here for your first game at Doyle Field, and that was kind of a breakout game for you. What kind of crowd are you guys expecting Friday night for your first home game?
I think we're expecting a bigger crowd because this is a Super Bowl rematch, and we both know that both teams are hungry right now, so it's going to be a good matchup.
Thank you very much, Jarrell. Probably the most famous flat top in the state now. Let's take a look at the St. John's Shrewsbury defense, though, Brendan. This is a group last year that had its struggles at times, particularly up front. What have you seen from the Pioneers in the early going, and how do you think they're going to address some of the problems from last year?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit better, but obviously you can't get any worse than they were last year. I mean, this is a team that gave up 39 points to Milford. This is a team that gave up 51 points to their crosstown rival Shrewsbury. You can't get any worse than that. And I think they're faster. I think they shoot the gaps a little bit better. I think their front seven are going to be a little bit stronger, but there's always still some issues. They might be overpowered at the point of attack, but they got to learn to get in those gaps and really cause some havoc.
Now, without further ado, we're going to bring you that little interplay between the lines down. Nick Cordio, senior captain from Leominster.
I don't think a lot needs to be said this week about St. John's. What has it been like in practice this week, getting ready for those guys? How's the mood?
We're really pumped up. Behind Pittsburgh, they probably are one of our biggest rivals, so we really get pumped up in practice. We know it's a huge game. They always have a great team, so we're trying to work as hard as we possibly can for this week, especially since it's week 1 too. So.
As a defensive lineup preparing for these guys, obviously the read option is a big part of what they do, but do you sense an element of unknown? You've seen other teams that have kind of started doing tackle reads and how they progress doing that. How much do you prepare for just something you've never seen before as far as what your responsibility are as a defensive lineman?
We've been talking about that a lot, the lead option, how, especially as a defensive tackle, you can't, overcommit certain ways and whatnot. So we've been working on it all week, and I think we're pretty prepared for that right now. So.
Is there something about these guys that bring out the best? You guys are 4-0 against St. John's since Palazzi took over.
I think it's just the fact that they're a great team. We go into every game against them really pumped up, and we get motivated every time we play them. We know it's going to be a great, tough game, so I think we really just go out there playing our hardest every time we play them.
As an offensive lineman, what is going to be your primary responsibility on Friday night?
We got to protect Neil, especially since he makes big plays back there for us. So if we can keep their linemen and backers off Neil, I think we'll be good on offense. And for the running game, especially too, we have some great backs. So if we can open up some holes, I think we'll be good.
Now, he's a bit of an escapable quarterback. He's a guy who can extend the play to the sidelines and make plays out of the pocket. What does that do for a lineman having that ability? It seems kind of a two-way street. We'll extend the play for you. We can extend the play for us.
It definitely helps. He's a great athlete. He's really fast. He makes great cuts. So, even if the play does kind of collapse a little bit, there's still some hope after if Neil can get out of there. So.
Last year, your first home game against Everett was a big crowd, but I guess we're expecting a little bigger crowd for this one Friday night?
Yeah, definitely. Since we played in the last 2 Super Bowls, we know it's going to be a really, really big rematch, so they're going to be gunning for us, so there's going to be a lot of people there for us.
Thank you very much, Nick. Now, Brennan, we mentioned this off the top. Dave Palazzi, since he's come here, a legend in his own right in the city of Leominster. What has he brought to this program, and how do you think, in particular, this matchup with St. John Shrewsbury every year, how do they ramp up for this one?
Yeah, well, he's definitely brought pride back to the city of Leominster, and no disrespect to the prior regime. I mean, they held their own, and they brought a lot of pride, but he really reinforced it. He got everyone really fired up again. Obviously, Dave Palazzi is one of the best quarterbacks to ever come through this town, and he was a terrific gunslinger at UMass back in the day, and he's got a lot of energy. He's a very smart mind. He's a great. I think he's one of the best play callers in the state as one of his coaches. And I think he just knows what to exploit against these guys. He keeps them on their toes. He knows how to establish the run pass and establish play action and get guys going in the flats. And he's got the athletes on the perimeter to keep that going. We mentioned about Otto on defense, but on offense, he's going to line up everywhere. In the three-point stance, tight end, in the slot, out wide, and that's going to be a matchup problem. I'm interested to see how they try to neutralize him. Obviously, they bracketed Neil O'Connor last year in that epic finish there at St. John's. But I think Palazzi is very good at reading and making in-game adjustments on the fly and knowing what to exploit against these guys.
So there you have it. Here's Brendan with the coach of the Blue Devils, Dave Palazzi.
All right, Dave, obviously a very familiar opponent for you guys coming up on Friday. What's the move been like this week in practice?
It's just, a long preseason. I'm sure I know some Eastern Mass teams started last week, but Central Mass really pretty much was starting this week. It's been, feels like halfway through the season all right. So not a lot of motivation to do with these guys. I think they're ready to go, and just you can feel that a little less joking around, enjoyable type thing, more business-like, and getting ready to play ball.
You guys are 4-0 against them since you took over at Leominster. Is there something about these guys that just brings out the best in you?
I don't know. I think, it's just making plays, big plays when they count, and, them not executing certain things big time. I mean, it happens both ways. I mean, we've just been fortunate enough for things to come our way and make some big plays at certain times. So, that's in the past. St. John's a great team. They averaged 33 points a game last year. Their defense had shown a lot of good things happen at times, so we really need to be ready to play.
A lot was made of this switch last year to St. John's made to a up-tempo, no-huddle, read option sort of a look, and led the state in offensive production last year per yardage per game. But as you've seen other teams that have run similar to what St. John's does, they bring in new ripples every year, and sometimes weekly with some programs. How much do you when you're scouting for a team like this, do you have to anticipate for the unknown and something you've never seen before?
Yeah, I mean, you always have to do that. The spread can bring just about anything, but pretty much the spread offense, it really dictates itself off of aligning guys where they feel a defense should align. And if they don't, then they run a certain play, and if they do, then they run another play, and so on and so forth. So we'll be ready for anything, but it's misconception about throwing a ball out of the spread. I think running the ball is what we're most fearful of. Pass, but the ability to run out of spread creates a lot of problems, especially with the guys that they have back there.
We talked earlier this preseason about Neil O'Connor, and this has been kind of a long time coming. It seems like getting prepared to take over the quarterback role last year. How have you seen him progress throughout the preseason as far as taking over the reins of the team?
Really well. He does a good job with knowing the system, knowing what we're doing. Both quarterbacks, Nick Exaris has got to be ready to go as well. O'Connor's playing defense and offense, so they both come along pretty well. But I think, Neil from last year being in the huddle, hearing the calls every play, really gave him an advantage to really understand where to go with the ball and where to throw the ball. So, but that's all practice, so we're going to have to find out how it transpires in the game.
You guys brought a pretty big crowd. The last year's home opener against Everett. What kind of crowd do you guys expecting on Friday night?
Well, a lot of people came out in a blizzard in December, so I'm assuming with the extra week that people are chomping at the bit just to get out to see a high school football game at Doyle Field Friday night. It's a great venue. It's a great field. Two great schools going at it, a great rivalry. So, I would expect it to be packed Friday night. I mean, if I wasn't coaching, that's where I'd be.
Thanks very much, Coach. No mention of that loss to Maine last week. Oh, sorry, Brennan. Anyway,
Don't tell me about it.
Let's turn the page gracefully and get to our picks for this week. Obviously, we'll have our game of the week at the very end here. But let's start it off on Thursday, coming to you on Thursday here. Obviously, with the holiday week, we'll get some early action here. Let's start on Thursday night, BC High and Andover.
Yeah, BC High really needed that win last week to get the season started off right. Not the start they were looking for, but they obviously had some great individual performances there. So there's some momentum building off of that one. And Andover, they survived the shootout last week. Will Eichenberry is obviously a tremendous player. Interested to see how the running game looks this week against a bigger BC High defense. I think BC High after licking their wounds last week, they're rolling for this one. I got them winning 17-10.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same neighborhood here. I think Heffernan, after getting acclimated to game speed, I think that'll be a big one, and I think that hopefully that BC High offense comes together a little bit more. I'm going to go 20-14 for the Eagles. Also on Thursday night, a key Bay State game very early on here, Natick and Weymouth.
Yeah, we've talked about Brian Dunlap and his injury and how that affects Natick, but keep an eye on Dave Harrison, who's been banged up a little bit. Curious to see if he lines up at wide receiver and not quarterback on Thursday night. But if he's not 100%, I mean, the offense runs through Dave. I mean, he's very important. Like we talk about Dunlap, losing them for Nick was like losing Jerry Rice for the Niners. Yeah. Same deal over there with Weymouth. I mean, he's the show. I think Natick, though, it's almost, I've alluded to this in our chats, the Ewing theory of now they don't know where the pressure's coming from, and that's going to allow Troy to be a little bit more distributive with his passing. I think Natick comes away with a nice 20-14 win here.
I'm going to go with the Red Hawks as well, but take a look at their defense. I think they really like that linebacker core coming in. Gus Black is a kid I think is going to make a really big impression this year. I'm going to go with Natick as well, 31-24. Let's flip it over to Friday now. Tewksbury and Lincoln Sudbury.
Yeah, this is a team. It's no surprise that Tewksbury is off to the start it's had. They've got a nice two-headed monster there, James Sullivan, Eddie Matova. It's a nice thunder and lightning combination there, and they run such a unique offense. It's hard to scout on a short week, let alone on a full week. You know, and LS. I mean, you know what you're getting with LS. I mean, you're getting one of the toughest teams in the DCL week in, week out, year in, year out for that matter. I got Tewksbury winning that. All that said, 21-14. I just think they got more. They got more in the chamber.
Yeah, I think again, LS I think might be a little bit better than some of us maybe thought coming into this year with that big senior class last year. Nice win against Somerset Berkeley last week. But I'm going to go with Tewksbury as well. Call it 21-14. This is an interesting matchup here. Another one that's kind of opened up with scheduling here. King Philip and Westwood.
Yeah, boy, that looks like a trendy pick to go with Westwood in the upset after that one. Bo Berluti, big performance from him in the win over Needham. Boy, KP better watch out. I think Westwood's on their heels. I think they're hearing footsteps. I'm going to go Westwood in the upset here, 25-21.
Big time. I just like that KP defense a little too much. I think the offense is going to come into it a little bit as the season goes on, but man, Joe Johnston looked like he was really locked in last week in Middleborough. I'm going to go with the Warriors 27-21. Let's take a look at another Hockomock League team here. Attleboro getting a lot of buzz in the preseason. They open up with crosstown rival Bishop.
Yeah, they're in for a big one here. Attleboro, a lot of coaching changes over the offseason, a lot of new blood coming in. They got a little energy here, and what better way to open up than with crosstown rival Bishop Fien, right? I just think Fien's going to be fired up for this one. Yeah. There's been years where Attleboro just ran circles around him, and I think Fien is kind of licking their chops about that. Isaiah Douglas, a guy we've mentioned a lot in the preseason, I think he's going to have a big night. I got Bishop Fien winning that one 27-23.
I'm going to go to the contrary here. I know Bishop Fien started in our top 25. They're still there, but I really like this group in Attleboro. I think they're going to pull off a really big statement win here. Call it 20-14. Let's stick on Friday night for this moment. Xaverian Everett, obviously, again, another great Division I North-South matchup here.
This one's going to be ugly. I think the question with Xaverian was not the defense. We know what they have on defense. Joe Gaziano, Shane Kaminsky. But where is the offensive production come from? Where's the points going to come from? I think that's the biggest question for Xaverian. We know they're going to hold them in this game. Can they put points on the board? Everett, despite their win last week, I don't think anybody, even in Everett, was happy with that performance. I think they're a little bit rusty. I think we're in for a sluggish one here. Mm-hmm. I got Everett winning 13-7.
This is going to be my upset special of the week. I'm going to go with the Hawks. Again, I think that group was really focused coming into this year. That 4-win season has really left a mark there. I think Shane Kaminsky is going to be the focus here on both sides of the ball. See what he comes with, in particular in the backfield. I'm going to go with the Hawks by 17-10 score. Let's flip to Saturday before we get to our game of the week here. Another intriguing one here. Central Catholic and Haverhill. Haverhill, another one of those teams coming off a big week one win and a lot of buzz there.
Haverhill's fired up. We mentioned a lot about Ian Kessel, the sophomore running back, 140 yards, 33 carries, all 3 touchdowns in that throw over Beverly. Yeah, he's a horse. And he's going to be a special kid. How about Michael Quagliarata with the block at the end of the game to preserve the win for Haverhill? That was a big performance by him. We know Haverhill, the town itself, has athletes. It's a matter of getting them on the same page, getting them in the school system and not off to other schools. Tim O'Connor has done a great job building it. I think they're fired up for this one. Obviously, I think they're biting off a little bit more than they can chew with Central's defense. No offense. I think Central, we've seen it with Michael Balsamo, DeAndre Drummond, Mary, et cetera. Central is going to stay ahead, but Haverhill is going to be nipping at their heels all game. I got Central 20-17.
It involves an MVC team, so it's going to have to be 30 points somewhere.
Death by 1,000 shell crosses, huh?
Exactly.
You see that Central Lawrence game last week? That was textbook.
Hey, I think we both called that going down. So I'm going to stick with Central Catholic here. I'm going to say it's a pretty tight game, though, 31-27. We'll call it a day there. 2 teams looking for a week 2 win here. Brockton sitting home last week, and St. John's Prep obviously going down to Bridgewater Raynham. These are going to be 2 very hungry teams.
This is the first time we've seen Prep start 0-2, and they've reeled off a campaign and getting the playoffs and what have you. I think Prep looked vulnerable last week, and obviously Johnny Thomas holds his own on offense. But the passing game needs a little bit of work. Defensively, they held on when they needed to, but there was still, they were biting on the play action. Gallagher obviously had a tremendous day running the ball. And Brockton is one of the better rushing attacks we're going to see in the state this year. And there's a lot of trickeration there, a lot of misdirection. And I just think that rocket toss play, I mean, how do you defend that? By the time the ball's there, he's already in the perimeter, doing his thing. And you look at Kerry Raymond, the fullback. He's going to be their horse guy up in the middle. How do you defend that guy? He's 220 pounds. I think they got a lot of stuff they're going to have to really game plan for here, despite on offense that is run heavy. And I think Prep has a very real chance of starting off 0-2 here, even though they're number one team in the state. I'm going to go with Brockton winning a grind fest here, 16-13.
I'm going to go the other way. I think it's going to be a tough test for the Eagles defense to get back on that tonight. As you mentioned, Raymond coming out of that backfield, Aaron LeClaire, some big
Jamal Williams,
big bodies to take down there.
Don't forget Pat Burke at quarterback.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think this is going to be Prep gets it. It's going to be a real squeaker here. I'm going to go 10-7. I'm going to go single possession. Saturday night, kind of the big, I guess, lead off to Saturday night here. Bridgewater Raynham and Duxbury.
Yeah, this is a team that's always been snake bitten by Duxbury. Whatever they got coming in any year, whether Super Bowl year or not, Duxbury's always had their number. I think that's going to change. All good things that they're going to do in end eventually. And I think last week, I mean, Buron, normally reserved, said himself, this is one of the best non-conference wins we've had in my 20 years here. That says something when you're beating St. John's Prep, the number one team in the state, the way they did. I think they got something special here. I think they're finally going to get that elusive win over Duxbury they've been looking for years. Give me 21-13 Trojans.
Good call. Going to be really close to you there. But, again, Dan Buron talking about last week going on that bus ride up to Danvers, which is sometimes a tough ride. Talked about the unusual focus that his team showed, and I think they'll bring it again this week. It'll be a little bit closer, though. I'm going to go 23-21 with the Trojans, and then that brings us finally to our game of the week, which will be over at Doyle Field. What do you got, Brennan? Leominster, St. John, Shrewsbury.
I know in our video last summer I said St. John's would upset Leominster week 1, finally get that elusive win they've been looking for since Palazzi took over. But I've watched both these teams in the preseason. I like Leominster a little bit better at this point. I think Neil O'Connor brings a more, I'm not sure if elusive is the word for it, unknown, the unknown element. And I think that's huge here. We know Jarrell Otto is going to have a terrific game. We're watching them making unbelievable plays here in practice here.
A little bit fired up here today.
A little bit fired up today. You sense it here. They're really focused, and not that St. John's isn't, but I've just, from watching the last 3 weeks, I like what Leominster's got a little bit better. But I think this is going to be another thrilling finish. I think it's going to be decided on the last drive of the game, and I got Leominster winning that last drive of the game, 21.
I think it comes down to the defenses, and I like Leominster's defensive secondary a little bit more than I like the Pioneers. For that reason, I'm going to call it 27-20. I think it'll be a one-possession game. But, again, I think this Leominster group looks pretty focused back here, and we almost got taken out a couple times as evidence.
We're in the danger zone over here.
We're in the middle of it here, folks. But without that being said, Brennan will be up here in Leominster for our game of the week. Again, of course, join our friends from the Sports Authority and Bay State Games. It'll be a great atmosphere again. Should be a ton of people here, so get here early, of course.
Be sure to stop by our tent at Doyle Field. We got cornhole toss going. We got a lot of fun stuff for you guys to work for. And look for our keys to the game as well in that game. So we got a lot of stuff for you. Come out Friday night. It's going to be a big one.
So without further ado, for Brennan, I'm Scott. We'll see you next week.